We're going to talk about this camera right here. This is the Fujifilm XS20, everybody. I've been using the Fujifilm XS20 for about a month now. I've taken it to Spain to document my mini travels. I took it around the Algarve, exploring the back roads and the coast, and I even took it on a few portrait sessions here. And I want to give you guys an update on my experience so far using this camera. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to pick up this camera is because of the XS10. If you guys don't know by now, I've done loads of videos on the XS10 over the years on this channel. The XS10 was one of those cameras that was sort of like a stepping stone to build what the channel is today. The XS20 is a camera that I eventually knew that I was gonna make my way around to getting eventually, because it improved on so many things that I had issues with on the XS10, making this a perfect camera for me despite some of its quirks still. The one thing I love about this camera is the size. When the in-laws came over a couple of months ago, we decided to take a trip to Spain for about a week. And now during that week, I've made up my mind I was just going to be using the Fujifilm XS20 and one lens, and that was it. So for my type of traveling, it isn't something epic like, Thomas Heaton. I'm never going to hike up a mountain and camp up there for a day and freeze my butt off while sipping some tea and eating some of those like army-made meals in a bag. That's just not my style. I'm getting old now. I get nervous if I don't get home by 7 p.m. I get really, really anxious. Anyways, the most I'll do is check out a town or a city and explore what they have to offer. So I went to Sevilla, and then I made my way to Granada, where I explored this beautiful Spanish town through the lens of the XS20. And I just loved it because I had the XS20 and the Viltrox 35mm f1.7 throughout this trip. Now, depending on when this video comes out, this lens may or may not be out yet. If it is, I'll leave the links to the lens down in the description. But this was such a nice pairing for this town. Myself and the wife, when we walk around a city, we average anywhere from 12 to 20,000 steps per day. So we walk a lot. If you do walk a lot, you want your gear to not weigh you down. You know what I'm saying? You got to be nimble and be aerodynamic and just be fluid. And the XS20 and this Viltrox lens did just that. I was able to take some beautiful shots of the town and just be an Instagram husband for a wife as well. She does want some pretty photos too. I get it. The size and the weight of this, combined to my camera strap, it was nothing. It didn't weigh me down, and I just enjoyed the shooting experience so much. I also used this camera to explore the coast of the Algarve. And again, it was such a easy, light setup. I tossed the XS20 and the Typock 28mm f1.4 in a small little bag, and I was ready to rock. Again, this camera is such a powerhouse in a small package. And this is why I love this camera so much. It's small, and the sensor in this camera just captures the world so beautifully. I've also used this on a couple of portrait sessions, and I had a lot of fun using this camera. It may not have that, full frame depth of field, but it's all right. It's cool, man. As long as the photos are fire, it doesn't have to be about, the bokeh and the shallow depth of field. There is something to be said about having a camera that is small and tiny. It's less intrusive and, in your face if you're pointing that thing around, you know what I'm saying? Especially in the town I live, they get weirded out when you point a camera in their direction. You're not photographing them, but in their directions. They'll get really, really private and just stick their hands up. So having something tiny works well in my favor here. The XS20 just really looks less intimidating than other cameras that I have, like the Sony a7C II paired with my 50mm f1.4 G Master, or even the thick-ass Nikon Z8 with with also a portrait lens attached. The size pales in comparison, and I did notice an energy shift when I switch over from the Nikon Z8 to the Fujifilm XS20. You can see the subject and the model just be a little bit more comfortable when they see a tiny camera. And this is why sometimes I start my shoot with the XS20 just to get them more comfortable. If I started out with the big boy first, it's going to be a little bit more intimidating. Now I want to touch on the autofocusing on the Fujifilm XS20. I thought it was fine, or maybe it's just because I have low expectations for Fujifilm now, but it didn't feel as bad as the other Fujifilm cameras. I was using a continuous AFC shooting bursts at 5 frames per second, telling the model to, just move back and forth while I was, rocking back and forth, and sometimes crouching up and down. and I was able to get the shots that I wanted. But I still see that the camera tends to back focus a lot more than just hitting the iris. Sometimes it would hit the chest area instead of the face, so the face ended up looking a little bit softer. Or sometimes it hits like the back of the ears and not the face. But I feel like it's more forgiving on the 26 megapixel sensors than the 40 megapixel sensor. Another thing that I've used the Fujifilm XS20 for is for filming some YouTube videos. The flip out screen plus the 6.2K open gate makes this a really good choice as a YouTube camera, in my opinion. I forgot how good the video quality is. I do like how the video footage looks coming out of the Fujifilm XS20. And again, I will have to bring this back to the compact size and nature of this camera. It's just so easy to set up and get started filming right away. And I do find that the autofocusing for video works well when there's only one person in the frame. And if you're not doing anything besides talking, I think it's fine. Once two people enter the frame, that's when the tracking box goes berserk, and it's still kind of annoying how it just can't stick to one person. But yeah, I just want to give you guys an update on my experience so far now that I've owned this camera and started using this camera for about a month. What it was handling in my situations, it did a good job at. I love the photo quality, I love the size for the most part, and I love the video quality. There are still things to be improved, like better autofocusing, but on this camera, I'm not going to care as much about it because it's going to be that camera I'm going to try and have fun with and be more creative with. And it's been doing a good job being that camera. If you're interested in the XS20, check the link down below and consider subscribing for more Fujifilm XS20 content, Fujifilm content, and more of my experiences with camera gears and all that. And don't forget to leave me a like as well, as it goes a long way helping this channel out. Thanks so much.